Hello, beautiful people. I have this new microphone. I have to remember to stay close to it and to look around these various screens that surround me. Please let me know if, good God, I feel like something just tried to fuck my mouth. Please let me know if this microphone is working. Go on. Don't be afraid. Let me know in the chat. All right. Oh, one other thing. I think I need to adjust this chair. Need to be able to see the hat. Is that about right? Yeah. That seems about right. Okay. Nothing about the microphone? Okay. Loud and clear. Works great. Good. Okay. I will go through the boilerplate stuff. First off, thank you for joining me this evening. Welcome. Please do follow this channel, Semiagog, as well as the sister channel, A Safer Space. And you can do that on BitChute, which, you know, your mileage may vary. I would hope that you would do it on Odyssey. You can do it on YouTube, BitChute, Odyssey. That covers it for those. Follow me on Minds, on Gab, on Twitter, Telegram. Yeah, I think that covers it. So let's talk about the patrons, the Praetorian Chads, who make all of this possible. There we go. Sorry, just pulling up the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the mighty, mighty people who make all of this possible. I want to thank them. A couple people recently came on board. My thanks to them. You should be able to feel the chained lightning flowing through their veins. They drink blood from the skulls, the gilded skulls of their enemies. These Praetorian Chads make all of this possible, and as always, all of the credit and none of the blame. All right. So shilling. This right here is my book. It's called Vinculum. Shall I pull up the blurb? Allow me to pull up the blurb. Man, everything is weird and different because I feel I'm chained to this microphone. The freedom. I must be free. All right. Set in an ugly future, Greater Istanbul in the year 2076. Vinculum is the story of a book thief in pursuit of a lost esoteric text in a world where the printed word has become vanishingly rare. Tangled in an international power struggle, pursued by remorseless corporate hitmen and shadowed by an ancient sect of assassins, Alaric McBroom swiftly discovers that book or no book, he'll be lucky to escape alive. You can find this on Amazon, ladies and gentlemen. And here is my collection of poems. I don't expect anybody's going to be much interested in that, but you can find it on Amazon as well. It's under the name Oliver Timken Perrin. And there, ladies and gentlemen, it is. All right. So, all right. What do we have here this evening? We're going to do an Ask Me Anything. But before we do that, so you don't feel like you got ripped off, where I invite you to invite you to visit and then put you to work cleaning my house. I have some thoughts to share. I have a few thoughts to share. So get your questions ready. This is going to be a little bit different, ladies and gentlemen. I'm having to get used to the new equipment. This large protruding black equipment is making me feel nervous. All right. Where am I now? Okay. Here are my notes. Let me take down the Praetorian Chads and we will move forward. I hope everyone is doing well this evening. I hope everything is great for everyone. All right. Is the volume okay on this mic? I mean, loud and clear, sure, but the levels are good. Are the levels good? Just tell me. Well, are they good? Okay. Now, let's see here. Yeah, I can't move this mic around as I move around, or my my rigged arrangement here will probably fall down, and I don't want to break it. Okay. So what are we going to talk about tonight before we get to the questions? Those of you who have been here before, you will know that I will take questions in a bit. You will have to put an @Semiagog on them so that I can notice them in the chat. Or no. God, it's got me filed in under the wrong name tonight. What a mess, man. Yeah, just put semigog in all caps, and even a boomer like me should be able to spot it. But before we get to that, be thinking of great questions this evening. Great questions. Before we get to that, I will go over some thoughts that I have been thinking that could have warranted clips of their own, but somehow never really got there. So you get them piecemeal this evening. Lucky you. All right. It's like Monday morning at an Indian restaurant. Okay. Here's something I've been thinking about, ladies and gentlemen. It is this idea of whiteness. Isn't this idea of whiteness interesting? They cleverly figured out how to separate the elements. They say that they're after whiteness, not whites themselves, so they can't be accused of racism. Isn't that handy? Because it's not white people, it's whiteness. They're after the abstraction of whiteness. And anyone can be white, right? We're told. Nevertheless, some whites are more white than others. So when they go after whiteness, we all know what happens. But in addition to all of it being bullshit, it's also cunning and evil, obviously. So they can attack an icon, the icon of that which is white. And then in vilifying it, they attack the whites themselves, all whites. Whiteness as a category. Isn't that fascinating, ladies and gentlemen? Isn't that clever? Isn't that cunning? So it's essentially a war on an archetype. It's a colossal, coordinated, and methodical project to destroy us in effigy. Morning. Welcome to the office. So essentially, it's a kind of sorcery, and it really is a hermetic attack. And why do I say hermetic? I'm not just using that term loosely, as so many people do. I mean specifically that it's an attack on the message. It's an attack on the signs. It inserts itself between signifier and signified and fucks it all up. But I mean, it's also hermetic in the sense that it partakes of these old traditions, which are fundamentally Neoplatonic, having to do with correspondences and things that have ontological priority. It's always already Neoplatonism, what's going on here. It's the classic hermetic model of occult influences. It's an attack on the forms that are ontologically upstream from the manifestations. To shift the course of a mighty river, as I've observed before, it's an old saying from the East, to shift the course of a mighty river. It is enough to flip a tiny pebble far enough upstream. That's what I mean when I'm talking about ontologically prior. You know, the idea with the whole sort of Neoplatonic framework is that you have the forms, because idea really is just like another word that means form. So we're like, what a fascinating idea. The Greek forms, like a form that you would, strike your precious metal with to give it a shape. Archetypos. First stamping, governing stamping, ruling stamping. It's the origin of these forms that come into existence. It's fundamentally a Neoplatonic idea. Obviously I'm talking about Plato, so we know that, underneath the Neoplatonic is the Platonic, but the specific ideas of hierarchies and correspondences that get mapped out, that's much more Neoplatonic, and it's very much characteristic of Hermeticism. Hence my mention of these things. This microphone, I'm going to have to listen to this later and see how it turns out. And then next time I do a stream, I'm going to do the little thing that pops up the mid-end with the switch back here. But, well, baby steps. I've got to take baby steps. So, yeah, it's a crime, but it doesn't seem to be a crime recognized by international convention now, does it? The attack on the archetype of whiteness, the attempt to redefine it. And of course, it's nothing new. It's been going on for quite some time. The attack on the effigy. Well, what does the attack on the effigy yield? Well, most immediately useful, I mean, other than its aim, which is to degrade, destroy, smear, and foment attacks upon whites, the more immediate usefulness of it is its plausible deniability. It's just, the realm of ideas. It's just the free market of ideas, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing genocidal about it at all. And I'm here to tell you, of course, there's nothing genocidal about it. It's a free market of ideas, freedom of speech. We're just attacking the nasty, colonial, imperialistic, gendered, cis hetero, pathologically normative, pale penis people. You're not a target. I mean, not you. It's whiteness that's the target. It's whiteness that's the issue. We have to address that. Another advantage of this approach, I would say, is this business of generating shame. I call it playing the "oh shit, that could be me" game. Publicly shamed, censured, pushed out of the community, prevented from conducting financial transactions. Yeah. Can't be accepted into polite society. No, indeed. It creates social shame. It's like the Chinese struggle sessions. Though I'm, of course, not asserting that all of this is strictly Chinese, but I'm also not asserting that there's no Chinese magic in it as well. Again, this has been going on for a long time. Multiple influences. I don't want to upset anyone with their pet worldview regarding, which villains everything else orbits around. But they're playing the shit that could be me game. The social shame of it. It's the image of the dunce. And with the Chinese struggle sessions, they actually had them wearing those pointed hats, often, with blood all over their shirts and placards hanging around their necks. The pointed hat, the public spectacle of it. The desire on the part of anyone who witnesses it not to go anywhere near it. This takes us back to Academic Agent's thing about how bullying is socially useful, because it's the other people who learn from the experience of watching it occur. As I said, it's the "oh shit, that could be me" game. So yeah, you want to voluntarily purge it from yourself. And what is it that you would purge from yourself? Why, the offending whiteness, of course. I mean, what are you, crazy? Of course, you've got to get that out of yourself. You have to be seen to be purging it from yourself. This horrific native affliction of whiteness. And more specifically, there is an advantage in targeting the simulacrum rather than the people, because you can train all your guns upon it and degrade them, destroy them by destroying the very image of them. And I mean, there's also the little side benefit. If we're talking about destroying things in effigy, there's an aspect of it that's like a piñata, because as long as you beat on the effigy of whiteness, or for a time anyway, there's every chance it'll crack open and little candies will come out. They love it when the little candies come out and skitter across the floor. Great showers of candy. And all you have to do is beat white people with the sticks of guilt, and the little rifts and splits and things appear on their surface, and the candy comes pouring out. Candy. Oh boy, candy. Candy. Yay. I mean, it's great for everyone unless you're the group being beaten with sticks. And some of them apparently haven't gotten over, I don't know, atavistic recrudescences of masochism. So, apparently there's that too. There are some few that get a real, I don't know, get something out of it. So anyway, a thought about whites and whiteness and this whole thing of attacking the simulacrum. I think there's quite a bit that could be thought around and about as relates to this. I just can't be bothered to do it. So there it is. There is a half-cooked omelet for you. Welcome. Welcome to Shay Oliver, or however the hell you say that. Dee would know how to say that. Okay, let's move on to another subject here. It's like a sampler box. It's like tasty little bits. I feel like I'm gonna have a wardrobe malfunction with this thing. I just tripped and fell in it. Yeah. All right. Curb stomped by my microphone. All right. Here's another one. This one is a little bit black pilled. I think I'm over it. But at the time I was writing this, I was feeling pretty shitty. Pretty shitty. Human beings will do that to you. This one. What did I write here? I've been struggling with the horrible possibility that the commies and other utopians are correct, that man is in fact a tabula rasa, a blank slate, simply waiting to be inscribed with whatever it is our betters decide is most democratic, equitable, and humanitarian. As I have observed before, the middle class can always be relied upon to be willing to be lied to. The middle class has no problem with being lied to as long as those doing the lying are ones that they imagine are their social betters. So there's something having to do with consensus here as well, which is herd instinct, the natural conservatism of organisms conceived en masse as a group, right? And there's a whole kind of riff I can go off. I'll go off on it. What the hell? Tim used to talk to me about this quite a bit, about individuation and individual eccentricities, idiosyncrasies, and the way in which all of them constituted a risk that's always a kind of experiment. You don't get to... Geniuses can end up being fucked up because there's an experiment going on. There's something new being tried. They have a, trait openness and willingness to experiment and blah, 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 blah. But that means fucking up very often. There are all kinds of ways in which they think, let's do this great new thing, and then it falls flat on its face. And in less forgiving environments than ours, that could mean, you die. No continuing your genes. This is in terms of, this kind of a dead end, except insofar as your genes survive elsewhere, right? So you would imagine that if there is a successful pattern, then there's going to be a conservative pressure, so to speak. I'm talking sort of in terms of, ethology, the behavior of animal species, including human beings. And going beyond that, in a broader sense, there's going to be a natural conservatism that favors what works, as opposed to what comes later or comes as a result of experimentation. So risk comes with it. Risk, reward, right? And so you can see why there would be consensus, a pressure of the herd saying don't do that, because there might be a real good reason not to do it. Now, if you don't have your weird edge dwellers, then maybe the envelope never gets pushed, right? So you have a few of them, and then you have the great mass, the many versus the few, and the many exerts a certain kind of pressure. And particularly for those who are unwilling to stand on their feet with, upright and say not just no, but fuck no, those people knuckle under. And it's natural, and they should. So that's consensual pressure. But back to this central idea of commies and other utopians being correct about man, in fact, being a tabula rasa. That's why I went off on this riff about the pressure of consensus and it being evolutionarily, or let's say conservative in terms of the survival of the organism or the particular species or whatever. So maybe sometimes it's not so much that man is a tabula rasa, it's that he is responsive to that collective pressure. And that gets to be an interesting thing to try to figure out the difference between, are you really dealing with people being a blank slate, as the commies would have us believe, or are you dealing with a situation where you get to a threshold when enough of the population buys into an idea, and maybe it's, Sheldrake's morphic resonance, I don't know, but some sort of collective pressure is exerted that is normative and that has an inertia of its own relative to anybody trying to break out of it. So I don't know. But man, it would suck if it turned out that they're right, that they really are just a tabula rasa, that in 10, 15 years' time, all this kerfuffle will have passed and everyone will be like, marching about in rainbow leotards with quivers of dildos on their back. Anyway. Yeah, it's a horrifying thing to imagine. It's a horrifying thing to consider as being a real possibility. So yeah, it comes down, I think, to whether or not man as an animal operates based on consensus or whether there's this tabula rasa thing going on. I mean, I suppose I shouldn't say either or because I'm always bitching at people about that. We all have to remember that there's either or, there's both and, there's neither nor. There are various combinations and probably some mo shit too. So, perhaps with nature and nurture, we already know that both play a role. Well, nurture is to a degree that tabula rasa aspect. The nature, if it includes this consensus enforcing natural conservatism, the combination might be enough to make it seem as though the commies are right. But it's an interesting place to look and think and consider and explore, because if there is I don't want to say instinctive, but let's say if there is in fact a native predisposition, a natural predisposition that one is born with, that people are born with, it would be interesting to identify that, because those would be the things presumably that could be leveraged against all the social engineering tabula rasa crap. But it bears some thinking about. And the Scrabble Babble rearrangers of letters have been at this for quite some time, funding projects by people like Skinner and the rest. So, playing catch up sucks. So yeah, consensus is a kind of baseline species or subspecies specific best practices inertia that acts as a kind of brake against too much individual innovation. Inertia is another good word, right? Because if you have that mass in one place, the issue is getting it moving, and that inertia against individual innovation, I think, operates in the same way. Yeah. Interesting. What's my final note here? It's a great irony. There is great irony in the fact that whites who claim to not have any collective identity are enormously susceptible to having their thinking shaped as a collective by mechanisms designed to, by collective mechanisms designed to do precisely that. Crazy. What's another thought here? Oh, here's one. This is just a tiny little one. I was thinking of doing a clip at some point on rumors of rescue in time of crisis. Because I know, for example, there are all kinds of crazy ones going around back in the day when Granada was about to fall in Spain. It was 14 something. Maybe it actually was 1492 that Granada fell. Boabdil, I think, was king. I cannot recall. Apostolic Majesty would, of course, be like, there it is. Call the wolf. I'm sorry, call the lamb. He's a good Christian. Yeah, 1492. Granada's falling. Rumor is flying about. People don't know what's going to happen. They have their ears to the ground. They're looking at the sky for auspicious omens from birds. Other cities, other times and places. They must have had rumors of rescue in Stalingrad. Rumors of reinforcement, right? Rumors of an imminent breakthrough. Rumors of rescue in times of crisis. I think that would make an interesting stream. Look at things historically, these different times and places, because it could be argued that many of the mimetic currents which flow around us could be characterized, in truth, as rumors of rescue in times of crisis. So would it not be interesting to look at all these times and places where people were in dire straits and I guess assuage their morbid sense of imminent destruction with rumors of rescue? Yes. All right. So I have one more thing that I wanted to cover, and then we can go to questions. Get your questions ready, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure that they're good ones. Good questions. Semiagog in all caps to help me see them, and save them for right about when we get to that, because I have seen in the past that when I try to scroll back through the chat in order to identify the ones that have been accumulating there, the questions that have been accumulating there, I can't go back all the way until, well after the live stream is ended and it's all been posted on YouTube and properly processed and all that. So save them, Semiagog in all caps, and I will answer those questions. This is my new microphone, ladies and gentlemen. This is my new microphone. Okay. So what is this next thing? This next thing is taking things seriously. It's all about taking things seriously. And this is rather difficult for me to even talk about, because to me it seems patently absurd that someone like me, I mean, look at me, is going to be laying some middle-aged, middle-aged man wisdom on you. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. And be aware that I recognize that I'm not the best example of the kind of prudence that I'm going to be extolling here. Yeah, do what I say, not what I do. But I'm going to say it because it's all very, very clear to me now, whereas when I was much younger, it wasn't. It's about this idea of taking things seriously as opposed to being childish. Now, I mean, there are all kinds of ways in which we've seen enforced adolescence. Human beings already have neoteny, however the hell you say it. The idea that the closing of the phase of childhood and adolescence comes late, very late compared to other species, and can be extended in order to extend the learning period. The idea is that, a colt can come like spit like a watermelon seed out of the back end of a mare and be on its legs within a very short period of time and be able to run along beside its mother and graze or whatever. Human beings, they're crapping themselves or, blowing plumes of snot and crying for years. And they require all that attention focused on them to make them, viable. Neoteny is already there. And then our culture as well. Culture, you understand. Culture, our economic society, whatever the fuck it is that we live in, whatever this dystopian hellscape is, shambling zombie things dropping gobbets of themselves as they shuffle across a sulfurous hellscape. Come back, Oliver. Come back. Our society has this whole thing going on where they want to enforce adolescence as well. They don't want anyone growing up. I mean, I have a clip on it some way, way, way back called "Progressivism is Weaponized Adolescence," and I'm not going totally down that road, but we've already got neoteny with the species. We've got this socially enforced normative standard of being a fuckwit. Either you're a woman worried about what kind of garbage you're going to put on your skin, or you're a man. The heaviest thing you ever lifted was your dick and her purse, That's foolishness. So I recognize that it's kind of challenging for people to be serious in an environment like this. And there are many distractions. As I said, do what I say, not what I do. I myself wasted enormous amounts of time on things that were less than serious. I don't know. I mean, fucking's pretty serious. Nevertheless, what do I have to show for it? Nothing. So, and there are many cases where I wasn't just fooling around with nonsense. I was actually going after things that I really wanted to do and do right. But I didn't understand about it. I did not understand patience at all. I did not understand the whole business of, you have to time it well, because everybody gets a few luckies. I mean, I guess there's some sad fuckers who don't even get one, but most people will get a few real live luckies, and they'll come rolling by like that image of opportunity that I've discussed from the emblem tradition. She's atop a ball displayed as a youth with a back of the head shaved and a big forelock hanging down. So it's up there on a ball, like a bear dancing on a ball. You know, a ball, you don't know what direction it's going to go. People who've heard me talk about this before already know this, but, you know, bear with me. If you're on a bicycle, it's got a wheel. You know, when you're driving down the road and you see the car in the lane ahead of you and you're thinking that they might be coming over into your lane, you can actually look at the wheels a little, especially when they're going slower. You can tell where they're going to go, that you can anticipate. But when somebody's dancing around atop a sphere, they could go in any direction at any moment. It's very difficult to anticipate. That's why the image of opportunity is represented in this fashion, as balanced atop a ball. Often he or she will be holding a sail of sorts, meaning you're blown this way or that by the wind, you know, relating it to fortune and uncertainty and, you know, the whim of circumstance. And then you have the business with the forelock hanging down in front. That's because you can seize opportunity when it's coming towards you, but once it's past, the head shaved, try getting a grab of that. You cannot seize, apprehend opportunity in such circumstances. So there's that. There's the idea of being prepared for something to happen. Everybody's going to get a few luckies, but only a few. Only a very few, really. The rest of it, you're going to have to just kind of work it out, figure it out. And I keep seeing people be fundamentally unserious. And, you know, there are a lot of people you can talk to about this, or a lot of people will have seen this, that when you talk to someone and they're telling you about something they want to do, you can tell in most cases whether or not that person really does mean what they're talking about. There are all kinds of people. I'll do this. I'm going to join the health club. You know, oh, I just got my gym membership and I bought some new shoes. And, you know, that's how far it goes. You know, goes no further. Commonly like that. There are all kinds of things that I do that way. I'm like, next month, this time I'm going to sit down and learn Latin. Ain't happened yet, right? But very often you will look at people and see that, no, this they really care about. And yet still somehow they go off half-cocked. Half-cocked. That's a good word. Another good word is negligent discharge. Another good word is premature ejaculation, because all of these things partake of adolescence and this notion of a lack of self-control. There are plenty of situations in life that require swift action, definitely. And you know what? Don't usher them in. They're going to happen to you. It might be as fast as figuring out whether to hit the brake or try to swerve around, or how long to hold the wheel as you swerve aside before you snap it back and hope that you don't roll or hit something solid, or, you know, knock some human being into the air like something out of a movie. Don't look for those things, because they're going to come anyway. And get some practice by being prudent about things with a long view. It's this business of not taking things seriously. Like, I'm not going to name names, but there was someone I was corresponding with, you know, just to be behind the scenes, you know, chat on social media platforms. And this isn't somebody I know well. And from everything I know about them, they seem perfectly fine. They seem to be perfectly fine people. Them peoples be good peoples. But this person had a great idea to go after something that is currently being paused and shame the hell out of them. And it's a subject that would really get traction if it had been done right. And this person was telling me about the basic idea, and I'm like, wow, man, that's actually a good idea, man. If you go after this right, and I tried to explain, you have to have part 1 in place, and then part 2 in place, and part 3 in place. And actually, you should call them tiers. Like if you've got a diagram that breaks out like a decision tree, and you've got, you know, stratum 1, stratum 2, right? Because they're going to be options. It might go left, it might go right. There might be 3 possible outcomes that you're able to identify off of this one piece you're going to place on the board. So you want to have those next 3 figured out with options and be ready to place those to exploit it, right? It's just like making a fire. You know, if you set your stuff up on the ground in just kind of a dumb pile, and you just strike your matches willy-nilly and just, you know, or worse still, you're trying to create it with friction. So you're dealing with sparks that fall, and you don't have proper the shit and stages to cause the ember to catch. You're going to be wasting your time. And it's to build a fire, you know, you might freeze to death. It's metaphorical, but think about how it is when you're making a fire. You've got an area of ground cleared. You make sure that there's not a snowy branch above you and you're not trying to do it in a puddle, right? And then you set your shit up so that you can take whatever catches and set it in your little structure that's designed, or whatever you're going to fold over as you blow on it, right? But then you've got sticks to hand. You have the different things for the stages as they're going to unfold and eventuate. This guy didn't do that. He had a great idea. So I was trying to tell him, look, man, have this ready and this ready. And then if after you strike them with the indictment, the public indictment, so to speak, of calling them out over their bullshit, they're likely to react in a couple of different ways. We'll set some traps inside what you've said and done that you know they're going to take as bait for how they attack you, and then have your other stuff already positioned. It's like leading them into a defile, metaphorically speaking, where you've got, like, you know, all kinds of artillery. 88s were trained upon them, right? Didn't do that. So I'm talking to this guy. Basic idea was his. I'm not going to share it because it's a great one, and he should be able to explore it if he wants, even though he mostly blew it. Next day he comes back. He's like, check this out. Look at this. The response I got from the such and such people who were doing the objectionable thing with our cultural heritage. And he basically had gone in half-cocked, premature ejaculation, negligent discharge, half-cocked, and just sort of gave the game away and kind of went meh about the basic issues, and then sort of retreated. And then, as though it was some kind of a victory dance, he was sharing what I saw as an embarrassment. It was fundamentally unserious. It revealed that it was more about being able to say he had done a thing and to have momentarily posed or affected, and as in affectation, doing so. And it didn't really seem to have anything to do with a serious person who's not going to get up off his ass to do a thing unless it needs doing. And if it does need doing, then it should be done right. That's fundamentally a different, the difference between a man and a boy. And as I said, for me to be saying these things, I mean, like I said, fucking look at me. I'm not trying to throw attitude. Do what I say, not what I do. I'm just trying to share what I have myself seen in the course of my life thus far. You're only going to get a certain number of luckies. And if something needs doing, unless you're a bitch ass boy, if you want to do it as a man, then do it right. Prepare, look, learn, anticipate, have your different contingencies in place. You know, you have to be able to delay gratification. You know, if you do it out of boredom or the desire to play these games, it's beneath you. If you're a person of substance, better still, a person of character. So something to think about. You know, it's there's a bit I was reading, I think it was Ouspensky, on Gurdjieff, and I'm not saying that I'm all about Gurdjieff, but the man did make some interesting observations. And this is reported at secondhand by Ouspensky. Gurdjieff had set up some sort of retreat. Gurdjieff is some sort of mystical dude from the Black Sea coast, Caucasian, the area of the Caucasus, but of Greek descent, as I understand it. He spent a lot of time studying mysticism in Central Asia and Turkey and the Caucasus, and then made his way to Moscow and built a following and reputation there. And then from there went to, I think, concurrent with the troubles of the World War I and the Russian Revolution and Civil War, went off to France for a while before, I think then he went to the United States. People like Frank Lloyd Wright were big fans. Anyway, Gurdjieff set up this retreat at some sort of French chateau, and all these people who were of a jet set, you know, people from New York and the rest, architects, you know, bourgeois white people seeking spiritual fulfillment. Others with probably more money than just being bourgeois white people, you know, very successful bougie white people, or people with family money. They all went to hang out with Gurdjieff at this chateau. And the first thing he did was put them to work doing menial shit. So it was kind of like Pat Morita or whatever in The Karate Kid, except not as stupid. He would have them doing work, you know, in with you know, repairs or shoveling manure, or bringing in hay, or felling trees, or making repairs to fences or bridges. And he would come up on the people and look at them while they were doing what they were doing. And that is a fundamental way to see whether or not somebody knows what they are about. I mean, any tradesman can tell you about this. I mean, any one of the few remaining tradesmen that gets into like doing what they do right, they actually become angry when they see people doing what should be done in that trade wrong. I know it's not as common now, but they used to be a very common type. And, you know, when there were a lot more white people in the trades, obviously there were more people like this. And the basic idea is to look at it like, no, this should be done right. And there's an awareness. You know, it's like the idea of painting yourself into a corner is emblematic. Someone who paints themselves into a corner did not look at the circumstances before they began and did not imagine it in their mind as a sequence. You know, there's a meme going around these days that's all about this idea of you know, whether people can imagine things in their mind, you know, whether they can see them with their mind's eye, whether or not they're adept at visualizing space, you know. And there are these memes going around with like women saying things like, oh my God, I mean, I look inside my brain and I don't see anything. I can't see anything. I don't know what the truth of it is. I don't know, you know, I can obviously see things, but at the same time, of course, I'm not seeing them. I'm seeing them. You know, it's in my mind. It's not with my eyes, but, you know, it can become, anyway. The point is, we shouldn't be thinking about, you know, whether we can see things in our mind's eye. We should be looking at whether or not we can see what is actually in front of us, what confronts us now. And that, I think, is to a large extent what Gurdjieff was doing. He would come up and see if somebody was trying to chop down a tree, but like an idiot, where it was about to fall on them. You know, you can identify the quality and type of consciousness, attention, and intelligence that you're dealing with by looking at that person confronted with whatever the circumstances are. And men will look at it differently than boys, and both of them differently than girls and women. That's something to think about, taking things seriously. I mean, this guy who blew this idea of going after these people who were tearing up our cultural inheritance by pausing it, he gave himself away. He went off half-cocked. You know what happens when you want to, like, metaphorically, you want to ambush someone and you decide like somebody won't listen, like you've got some hothead who's like hiding in the bushes and you're like, wait for the signal, and that dipshit goes rolling out beforehand and gives it away. That's your chance. It's done. It's over. It's totally over. I was trying to pitch a project one time and I had totally worked this thing out, man, and it was a good idea. I'm not even going to tell everybody what the idea is because it could still come to life. But it was a cartoon and it was set in a strip club. And this is when all kinds of, you know, interest was being shown. Cartoon Network was a big property at this time. And, you know, I was like, oh, how the hell do I fund this thing? You know, because I have a group of people, we could do it ourselves. We just need somebody to pitch it and generate some interest. And so I was dating this girl who was kind of kept at that time by a guy who owned a bunch of car dealerships. And I said, look, man, he likes you. He bought you this 4-story townhouse, you know, just because he likes the cute little way you look. So tell him that there's this great idea for an entertainment property of some kind, you know, and it's a cartoon, and we're trying to put this thing together. We got the concept, we have the treatments and the rest. Set that up. He tries to show off, knowing that he knows an entertainment lawyer, which is hard to turn up in my city where I live, but there is one, you know, who would be lower end to medium if it were in New York or on the West Coast. But anyways, big for my city. And he says, yeah, well, I got my entertainment lawyer here. You just come on in here and we'll take a look at it. So I asked my friend about it, and it was his idea as well. We both came up with the idea. And this is where it got all fucked up because it was all half-cocked and bullshitty. He had a friend who worked for a big record label out in LA and knew tons of people out there. And so this, like, you know, personality tug of war starts where he's like, no, man, maybe if he sets it up, then he'll have more creative control, you know? He's like, so I want to set it up through my people, so I'll come out on top in terms of the hierarchy of it, you know, and I'll be steering the ship because I'm the one who brought the investor to the table. And he had good connections. They were for real. And he went off half-cocked because we had pitched the idea in my town to the guy I was trying to get as an investment. And I told my friend, just wait on number 2. Just wait on the second guy. We got a second string option. He's like, no, I want to do it. So he pulls this lever. I get this call out of nowhere saying, hey, man, you know, this dude over at Spike TV wants to talk to you. You know, are you willing to talk right now? I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I would love to talk to you after I've heard back from the first person I pitched. So I'm not like creating, you know, it just totally torpedoed the first, I mean, didn't totally torpedo the first process. It blew the option because the guy was pissed off that I didn't call him up immediately and come, you know, slob the knob, I should say. You know, and say thank you for being willing to hear the treatment, you know. So that was blown. The guy was pissed off that I didn't immediately come running and say, yeah, we're interested. Meanwhile, I was waiting for the other guy to give a response. The other guy came back and said no. And it was only, you know, 3-4 days. Dude had just waited. We could have turned around. He could have pulled that lever then, and then we would have had the interest without creating the static. It's fundamentally unserious. It's boy shit. And I've done plenty of it myself. I'm not trying to say anything bad about my friend if he ends up watching this. We totally got over that. He's a dear old friend of mine. But it's just bullshit. These are lessons I have learned and seen. If you want to get things done, be serious about them. Be serious about them. Because you're going to get a few luckies in life. And there's nothing as tedious as watching a bunch of people wearing squirrel skins talk about bringing down a lion, right? If you're going to bring down a lion, I want to see a lion skin on your ass. Anyway, be serious in life. Don't give your position away before you move. Figure out what you're going to do in sequence. Don't take an action unless you know what's going to follow up, that you have an end in sight, that you have a way to measure success. I mean, when you're young and you're full of piss and vinegar, I mean, you can tilt at windmills all you want, man, but I just wish someone, that's why I'm doing this. It's a form of projection. I'm speaking to myself from 20 years ago as I go off into the night. I wish someone had come along. I mean, somebody did, and I didn't listen. But I wish someone had come along and told me in a way I could more effectively hear to take it slowly, to plan, to be cunning, not to give yourself away. These kinds of things. God, this fucking thing. Okay. So, I think, yeah, there was something I was going to talk about with letters and things, but I think I'll give that a break. I've talked a bit. I have carried the cloak for a distance to protect you all from the rain. Now I will hand the cloak to you, and you in turn can shelter me from the rain. Which is probably not the best metaphor for come up with good questions and start asking them now. Put semiagog in all caps. And while you're doing that, I'm going to look and see if there's anything coming up soon. Oh, yes, there is something I want to shill here. Go check out my recent episode with Academic Agent. It was in the last day or two. Yeah, it was yesterday. And yeah, coming up on the 22nd of August, it will start at 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. I will be talking again with Anteos as a part of our Light in Darkness series. So that should be fun. We have covered, we have a general introduction. Then we have, that's the first clip. And then we have one that covers the Florentine Neoplatonists and the Italian Renaissance, Medici family and the rest. The way in which secret societies and secret services overlap. And we just did one on the German states and the Rosicrucians and the fighting between, or the competition and fighting between the Protestants and the Habsburgs, the Catholic powers, Jesuits. And the next one will be on the Illuminati. And Anteos will be sharing with us a number of documents from the 18th century, I believe, said to be documents from the Illuminati that were published at the time to considerable buzz and fuss. and he's translated some of this into English. I think he's working on a broader English translation. Anyway, tomorrow we're going to look at, I'm sorry, the 22nd, we're going to look at that. And I think after that, we're probably going to look at Masons and the French Revolution and perhaps even continue from there. But the next one happens August 22nd, and that will be at 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. So what do we have here for questions? Somebody talking about Habsburg jaw structure. Yeah, they do have a problem with that. That Habsburg chin. Okay. Let me go back a ways here, people. God, I gotta get used to this microphone. All right. Oh, we got one from John Ski. Hello, by the way, John Ski. And this is actually the first one I should address anyway. So I'm glad, very glad that he asked it. He asks how Mr. Tim is doing. As Conan says, slaying is thirsty work. Tell me, Conan, what is best in life?
To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of the women.
Tim, I talked with him today, and he was sitting out on his porch looking at the mountains on the horizon, enjoying the overcast sky and the fact that it had recently rained. So we talked for a bit. Obviously no clip recorded or anything like that. He was pretty fucked up. He said he was not feeling well, but I mean, he wasn't like in bed waiting to die. If he was waiting to die, he was doing it sitting up looking at the horizon. He still says he's going to get better. And I have out of the times I've talked to him recently, the last 2 times out of the last 3 times, he did sound much better. So he's still talking about coming back. We'll see. Cross your fingers, say your prayers, propitiate the gods above, or, fling sacrifices into the yawning pit of the chthonic deity of your choice. But yeah, he seems to be getting better. It's like a 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of arrangement following a period of like 20 steps backwards. So let's see what shakes. Wish him well. Thank you for your question, Mr. John Ski. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to work this mic. Yes. Trying to work the mic. Me. Ma. Little hermeticism. Yeah. Little practice for my elocution, for my diction. Edited it. He edited it. He thrusts his fists against the posts, and still he swears he sees no ghost. Me, ma. All right. Sorry, people. I'll get to listen to that later and see what the qualities of my microphone might be. All right. I think I've gotten back to the point. Oh, man, there's just a ton of these. All right. I'll just go back as far as I can and start there. Let's see if there are any in caps. Yiz is saying, has Oliver even pretended he would answer a question this stream? Listen to him. Of course I'm going to answer a question. Okay, I think I'm in the right spot. I'm sorry, listen to her. Sorry, Yiz. Listen to her. All right. What do we have here? I found my John Ski one. Come on now. Oh, all caps. All caps. Sorry, people. It's coming. There we go. Coca-Cola says, Semiagog, what are your thoughts on Trumpton, both the children's TV show and AA's positive vision for the right based thereupon? I'm hoping that John D will come like leaping out of a bush and chase you down with a stick. I don't know the TV show. I've just seen the images of it from his channel, and I think it looks great. I mean, I saw a bit of it. I learned about it, I think, with the Milkman localism. stuff. In terms of AA's positive vision for the right, I'm going to withhold any comments on that because, I mean, it's a thought experiment. I don't want to have a pissing match about it. And there are many aspects of it that I agree with him on. I will say that what's far more interesting is the arguments he's having with all these other people about it. And he's busy playing the heel. There really is a strong streak, as I mentioned on the last UO, of George Costanza about AA. And I would never have known that had I not recently decided, after having heard D and AA talking about it, if I had not recently decided that I would watch Seinfeld myself. Yeah, so that's that. What's next? Camus Jr. says, Semigog, I don't think them are right with the tabula rasa idea. If you consider epigenetics and trauma, at least they aren't right yet. Well, let me see here. Let me just look over here and remind myself of what the fuck epigenetics means. All these people who are way into genes and genetics and science talk are going to be laughing at me, but I ain't afraid to tell you I forgot what that means. Come on now, why am I not getting a window open? Let's do it over here. Here we go. Epigenetics. Oh yeah, that's the I still gloss this under Lamarckism. Yeah, so let me go over here. Where was the damn question? Yes. Show. I don't think them are right with the tabula rasa idea if you consider epigenetics. Yeah, so that's the environment's effect upon our behavior and genetic expression. And then trauma in terms of encoding behavior as well, sort of more your psychological view of it. I mean, I don't know because, well, epigenetics, yeah, maybe I'm misunderstanding you about trauma, but the trauma would be the life experience. And that's the idea that I mean, unless you're talking about collective trauma, unless you're talking about how many cookies got baked. Yeah, I don't, trauma to me, if I'm in the terms I'm thinking it of as related to psychology and whether or not your experiences and traumas shape you subsequently, that could be argued as a kind of tabula rasa itself. Epigenetics, yeah, that's environmental pressure and the sort of conformity between the organism and its environment in terms of its genetic expression, I think. Yeah, those are my thoughts. Sorry, your mileage may vary. I'm not one of the science guys. The behavior aspect interests me somewhat, but yeah. All right. Jacob says, Semigod, should Trumpton's school mascot be a cougar? I don't know what to say to that. I don't know. Okay, what's this other one? How aware of you the UK Commonwealth significance of the reverse V sign? Dingy dude. Oh, that dingy dude picture. Yeah. No, I don't know about that. I mean, I know about like a up yours kind of thing, and I know like V for victory. That's all I have filed in my little shelf for hand gestures is up yours, wanker. And I guess, God, again, that sounded Australian. Up yours, wanker. Yeah, fuck off and victory. Or, cucking someone, rabbit ears in a photograph. Adolescents talking about oral sex. Yeah. Maybe I employed it with ironic ignorance or genuine ignorance. I feel sure this entire bit there is going to come back to haunt me. All right. So what else do we have here? Colonel Crayon says, Semigog, have you convinced Mr. D to send you some of his gentleman's relish yet? Insomniac Britbong here. Well, it depends. The gentleman's relish, the one. All right, this is another one of these ones that somebody's going to clip and do really unchristian things with. Where did this just go? I got to find it on Amazon because there's a Latin name for it. Where is it? History. Well, let me just look under gentleman's relish and I'll find it myself. Here's the problem. I'm going somewhere with this, people. Yeah, there it is. Autumn Peperium, the gentleman's relish, established 1828, I think it says. Delicious. Delicious on hot toast. You know what the problem is? The problem is I was going to order 2 of these, and it sounds cool. I really wanted to get it. I'm like, what the hell? I'll get one for my mama, right? I'll get 2 of them. 2 of them was, where'd it go? Were about $7 each, so it was around $15. The problem is it was another like $17 to ship them to me. So basically, they have no distribution here. So it's a, $35 to get 2 ounce-and-a-half packages of Patron Peperium. We'll see. I'm feeling cheap. I'm sorry, no, 2.5 ounce, 2.5 ounce pucks of it. Yeah, so there it is. We shall see. Feeling Lucky Duck is asking me about Tim's health. I think I covered that just a short time ago. But in case somebody just came into the house, welcome to the crib. I spoke to Tim today briefly. He still insists he is getting better, but it feels like a 2 steps forward, 1 step back. After having been knocked back 20 steps already. All right. That guy S says, Semiagog, I don't know if that's how you spell your name, but what is this? What? Huh? I don't know if that's how you spell your name, but how do you think one can learn discipline themselves into this condition you spoke of by themselves? Some people can't rely on any support groups. Yeah, you're just going to have to, it's like Buddha, man. Sit down under the Bodhi tree and just tell yourself you ain't getting up till you're enlightened. I realize that's pretty useless. Find someone as a model that, and this is difficult enough in and of itself, that is worthy of trust and has your best interest at heart, and pay attention closely. Find someone who appears to be successful in life and try to emulate those things they do that seem to be successful, effective, and prudent, virtuous, whenever doing so does not require you to go against what you know is right and wrong. I mean, again, I don't know how helpful that is, but I mean, the best way to learn is by looking at somebody who knows how to do that shit. Otherwise, I guess you're stuck, prayer, message in a bottle. I shouldn't be singing. Yeah. A candy-colored clown they call the Sandman tiptoes in my room every night. And just before dawn, he sprinkles stardust. Go to sleep. Everything is all right. Yeah, I can't sing. Sorry. This is a free, I want to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, this is fucking free. This is a free episode. What do we have next? King Salmonfish, hello, sir, says, did you look into parasite stress theory? It fits nicely into my recent explorations into the psychology of existential risk. Why, how, and when does one exert control? I don't know parasite stress theory. I've heard you mention it a couple times. It was not immediately clear to me from your communications what that meant, but it seems to be promising, and you seem to like it, certainly. I think maybe you've already done it, and if so, I'm sorry I didn't see it, but it sounds like something you should do a clip on your channel. All right, the next one. Who's this? From Logan River. Semiagog, can you spell the channel you are featuring on regarding Rosicrucians Neoplatonists? It is this channel, Logan River. Dear friend, it is this channel. It will be here. It is called, the series is called Light in Darkness. And we did one of the episodes in the last few weeks. So if you look at the videos on this channel, you should be able to find it. All right. And who is next? Sarama. Semiagog, please expound briefly on your spoken language originates from the written and not vice versa. Thank you. No, it's not precisely that spoken language comes from written. It is rather that written language precedes spoken. And the basic idea is that words don't stay. And in order for words to attain conventional meaning, which is to say that everybody agrees upon them as meaning that, because one of the fundamental ideas of the whole linguistic thing in terms of Saussure's linguistics is the idea of the arbitrary relationship between the signifier and the signified, which I've mentioned many times. It's the idea that, one group says ach. I always use damn tree because it's immediately in my mind, right? So you say ach for tree or in Turkish, or you say arbor for tree in Latin. We say tree for tree in English. Obviously, neither tree, ach, nor arbor have any fundamental necessary relationship with tree. You just pick a word and it means that. But for it to be encoded as a language, something that we all share, conform to, and employ with comprehension, there must come a phase where the word comes into being. And we know that words didn't exist prior to human beings because we don't see animals employing speech as we do. So conventional spoken language, leaving aside the idea of a signaling cry, which feeds into that and is a part of that whole story, right? God, I forgot the first half of my sentence. Happily, though, I still know what I'm talking about, even though I forgot the first half of my sentence. So it's going to just dangle there. Dangle. In the one case, for spoken language to exist, you have to have a conventional term that everybody has agreed upon. How can you agree upon it if it doesn't even stay in the air, right? It doesn't stand there. There's nothing to point to and point then to the other thing. Like if I want to teach you the word phone, I have to hold up phone and then I have to point to it, right? And I go, phone, right? That requires some time for language to appear. It didn't just like spring up full blown from underneath a cabbage leaf, right? So obviously for that to take shape and get rooted among human beings is going to take some time in an evolutionary framework, right? Well, take a look at writing. Well, you have a script and it moves in a line and you read it in a sequence. It's sequential rather than linear. I shouldn't call it linear. Let's say it's sequential. But it's often that sequence is executed as linear. And that's how you know where there's a beginning and end to the text. And the more complex forms of writing are in sequence like that, phonetic writing, obviously. But the thing is that animals have a form of writing that exists and is apparent all across thousands and thousands of animal species on planet Earth. They use marks to communicate, and those marks are made in space. So writing is fundamentally, and you can look at a guy called Roy Harris and his book, Signs of Writing, for a basic theory about writing itself and a way to define it that doesn't require any it being an accident of speech, right? His definition of writing has stepped past the definitions of previous people who were addle-pated dipshits. His definition of writing is excellent because it's the idea of lasting configurations in space that are used to integrate behavior. And that covers both the marks that animals make as well as our writing, all the way up through writing proper, phonetic writing, and all the rest of it. So what I'm saying is that we have an unbroken chain of configurations in space that are lasting, that can be used to integrate behavior in the form of animal, territorial, environmental, and resource marks. And that goes all the way back down to fucking insects and continues all the way up into the present. And so anybody who tells you that writing would have to have speech there first so that you have something to write down is just a dipshit who has been addlepated by academia, which believes that everything is an accident, that it's contingent upon the previous existence of the spoken word, because they're scrabble babble dipshits. They've never gone out, for example, hunting and see how animals signal, see how a hunter reads tracks in sequence on the ground, just like letters, and that it tells you the story, the narrative. This happened, then this happened. And so they're so anthropocentric, they're so high on their own supply about how speech must be there, and that's what sets human beings apart, that they miss this aspect of writing based on how they define it. They define anything that doesn't have to do with speech out of it, and then say that obviously you would have to have speech for there to be writing. It's a circular jerk fest. It's absurd. Anyway, I'm going to bore people to death. There's more of it. If you want to see like my, there's a playlist on marks and marking behavior. You can find it on the channel. There's a presentation that I did in Stockholm, and there's one I did at Leiden University that kind of goes further afield. And there's some other ones in there. Take a look. But that should give you initial orientation. Okay, I'm going to speed up now. Wolf Larsen. Wolf Larsen says, Semigog, in your opinion, what is the most profound policy or incident to affect the West post-World War II? Thanks, love your work. Thank you, Wolf Larsen. The 1964 Immigration Act in the United States. Nixon opening up to China. The United States opting to stop supporting Chiang Kai-shek and starting to support Mao. Yeah, those are some guesses, but I guess I'll just go with the 1964 Immigration Act, 64, 65, whatever the hell it is. Und now, und what is next? Common Miles says, Semigog, could you elaborate on the finer details of inner game / frame versus outer game? I'm not sure I know what that is. So, no, sorry. I wish I could. Shadowfire 0001 says, Semigog, did you ever read any Charles Sander Peirce and his theory on semiotics? I am, of course, familiar with the basics of it. Triads, infinite semiosis, icon, symbol, and index, and that kind of stuff. I recently, so yes, I have read some of his work, but it's all in the collations, not collations, the anthologies of his work focused on the semiotics, because he had a vast amount of it, I think dealing with formal logic and all sorts of other stuff. So yeah, it's pretty deep waters with him. I'm familiar with the basics of his semiotic theory, but I have not dug into the vast stuff with his tomes. And there's doubtless more that I should know about it, because what gets bandied about in introductions to semiotics and the rest, I think tends to elide right over some of the depth. I mean, the fact is that if you want to deal with Peirce, it's never going to be just semiotics, because his semiotics and his philosophy, and I mean, even epistemology, and I mean, you could even say some of it verges on phenomenology. It's pretty deep stuff, and yeah, it requires giving him his due and reading him all those works, not just stuff in anthologies or collections from his work that focus specifically on the semiotics. So yeah, I know a bit about it, but there's more work to be done. All right, this is from what is this? What is this? Great White Lobster says, Semigog, a lot of what you speak of, patience, cunning, forethought, I feel like hunting is an excellent and primal way to learn these things. Thoughts? Also, do you hunt? Not ranch hunting. No, I want to hunt. And I thought that I had finally gotten it all arranged where I could see, I want to go with someone who knows it, right? It's like that story I always tell. Nasruddin Hoja falls off the roof of his house. He's 80 years old. He lands on his back. He's all fucked up. His wife comes running out. Says, Nasruddin, oh my God. Aman tanrım ne oldu aşkım? Hala yaşıyor musun? And she's like, oh my God, you fell down. I feel so terrible. And she's like, I'm going to go get a doctor. And he says, stupid fucking woman, don't go get me a doctor. Go find me someone who fell off a roof before. Right? In life, you want to find people who actually know the shit. So I thought I had it set up where I could go with an experienced hunter. Yeah, that does not seem to be coming to pass. So yeah, I have to do that soon. And I agree with you fundamentally that hunting is something that all males should be doing, and not just women. I mean, the ones that you take down with a bow or a spear or an air rifle or a high-powered rifle or a shotgun. Yeah. And I do want to correct that, not least because I'd like to get one of those freezers and just sock a bunch of meat in it and know that I'm set for a year. But yeah, man proposes, God disposes. So we will see if and when I am able to remedy that ignorance on my part. I mean, I hunted squirrel and I shot lots of critters with my air rifle. Well, not lots, but lots of pigeons, a couple squirrels. Then I decided, why kill the squirrel if I ain't eating them? Pigeons crapping all over my house was another matter, but yeah. And I spent a good bit of time in the woods as a kid, camping and rock climbing and spelunking, and at least twice. And yeah, lots of camping, hiking, kayaking, and stalking around. Because as a kid, I used to love to wear camouflage. I mean, it was when the movie Commando was out, Red Dawn. I got my Tiger Strike camos. I got my camo face paint as a kid, and I'd run through the forest, make foxholes, and hide from people. So I grew up with it. But yeah, there's a lot still for me to learn there. All right. This one is from John Sun. Semiagog, I assume you are an artist designer. What is your field and how do you manage to work in this paused field of art design or any other creative field? Can you draw energy from the conflict? I'm not working anymore. Nobody's going to hire my ass. I was doing, yes, I did come up through design. Well, first pre-press, then graphic design. Back when, printers had a little pre-press shop in there and you output the film and strippers would do shit with it. Not the kind that take their clothes off, the ones that, take the output from the oh God, I can't even remember all the terminology anymore. I'm so fucking old. Anyway, you output film, right? And you use that for your plates, 4-color, spot color, whatever. And then I went to graphic design, and then I went to art direction. And then I was with a digital shop, so I was doing more interface design stuff, but also still doing some print and posters. And then I was doing copywriting and sort of creative direction, covering a number of these things. And then it all went to crap because of being able to crowdsource graphic design from other countries where it's cheap, and you're just like, you put a request out and 500 people give you a design for free, and only the one you choose gets paid. So yeah, that disappeared. It got commodified. So I went into consulting related to brands, communications, advertising, marketing. And that was much more interesting and much more fun. And I was upstream from the designers saying, no, these are the images. These are the signs. These are the fundamental things that you need to communicate at all brand touch points, as we would have said once upon a time. But no, I'm not working now. The coof killed everything, because the last version of all of that I was doing involved going out and interviewing. The client would come and they would say, we want to better reach such and such in order to sell a so-and-so. And we would say, okay, do you have your segmentation for that group or those groups? And they'd say yes. And we'd be like, okay, we can put together a sample, a size 6 people in Dallas and 2 groups of 6 in Los Angeles, and 1 group of 6 in Arizona, and, in Atlanta, another group of 6. And, we'll come back and we'll look at our qualitative, not quantitative, qualitative findings and offer recommendations on how to better reach them. Or if you're doing new product development, NPD, as they like to call it, ideation, NPD, then we'll help you to identify what needs can be met, blah, 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 blah. Problem is that involves talking to people either in focus groups or more effectively and productively, you go for 2-hour stretches with them where you interview them in their home. You can call bullshit on stuff that they would just belch out of their mouths in a focus group and never be tested on, because you can see their environment. You can tell what they're actually thinking, what they actually believe by how they live and how they adorn their house and, you know, what they have in their kitchen cabinets or whatever it is that you're looking at. Can't do that now. Everybody be freak out, shit themselves if you don't have a mask on. It just totally destroyed that. So yeah, I don't know if I can go back anyway. I just got old. I'm 50 now. I just turned 50. I want to cry, but there's just a certain number of dicks that you just won't put in your mouth anymore. And client relation type stuff, I don't know if I have it in me. I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, I avoid the pause at this point. All right. What else do we have? Yeah, I got another one from King Salmonfish. I don't know exactly what he's saying, but I'll share it. Parasite stress theory seems central to the medical tyranny plans. Hegelian. People cry out for solutions and control. In line with your medical priest idea, just the other side. Lay people. I don't exactly know what that means. Again, I think a clip to contextualize this stuff would be great. Again, if you have put one up and I haven't seen it, sorry about that. All right. Helena A of the Emerald Isle says, I'm going to push my luck. Semigog, Wuthering Heights, love it or hate it. That's with what? Heathcliff or whatever? Is that Heathcliff? Oh, Heathcliff. I'm so sorry to say this. I don't believe I've read it. Isn't that aren't those the sisters or whatever? That's Charlotte Bronte. No, there's an Emily Bronte, isn't there? And then the Jane Austen. I get them all mixed up. I probably would have read it if this chick that I had the hots for had decided to date me. She just totally she flung me aside. She didn't even fling me aside. She didn't even let me get close enough to fling me aside. Instead, she opted for this guy who played a lot of Chopin, and he liked to read Nietzsche. Then he was playing Chopin and reading Nietzsche, and yeah, Shauna went with him. Wouldn't look at me. She just totally had that Dante Gabriel Rossetti type face and the little wave face, little red cheeks and auburn hair. Hotter than a 3-dick dog. But yeah, that kind of put me off because she was kind of that romantic, English female novelist kind of vibe. And I think after my heart was broken by my inability to make that meaningful connection, I just never was able to turn around and read the Wuthering Heights. So I am sorry. If another one like her comes along, I just might be convinced to read it, though. At which point, afterwards, I will be happy to share with you my opinion. Second Horizon says, hermeneutics. Isn't hermeneutics?
Doesn't it feel like it should be said in a Kermit the Frog voice? Hermeneutics. Hermeneutics.
I don't know. I'm too old to be talking that way. I was just lecturing everyone a little bit earlier about the difference between men and boys. I told you, do what I say, not what I do. All right. Somebody, PIB Thought Criminal, is asking me if I can sing Kate Bush classic Wuthering Heights. No. No, I cannot. I can't sing. All right. What is oh my God. It just refreshed. And now I'm at Philosophicat saying, how many books have you read just to impress a woman? I started reading A Hunchback of Notre Dame because I was dating this French chick who all her PhD work was on Victor Hugo. But meh. I don't know. In terms of a specific, here's how to answer this one. Here's the easiest way to answer this one. I feel like I'm about to start doing some kind of Indian dance. I don't know what just happened to me. In my life, in terms of reading a specific book for a woman, that maybe it's probably happened, but I don't remember it, and it didn't happen often. However, it could be argued that every book I've ever read, if you take all the books in aggregate, was designed to impress a woman, in the sense that I stupidly thought when I was younger that they were interested in well-read, intelligent men. Yeah, and I learned that it was not the case. It just could not give a fuck. Oh my God. The story of my life is women that I thought would be interested. I'm like, hey, I'm smart. And they're like, that's so awesome that you're smart. And then they don't care. They just really do not care and never have. That just is really consistent. I mean, they don't want you to be a moron. They don't want you drooling in your lap. But generally, if you're well above average in intelligence, they don't. It's a bug, not a feature. They don't like it. They want you to be just a tiny bit more intelligent than them, or just a little bit less. But the rest of it, I don't know. Whatever. This one from Travis Blaze says, Semigog, what are your thoughts on China and India clashing on their border and China moving into Afghanistan? I feel they're spreading themselves thin and biting off more than they can chew. I have not looked at it recently enough. I think there are many things that could happen with China. Certainly Japan has gotten more aggressive and explicit about backing their shit up, backing up Taiwan. And China has gotten pretty bellicose from what I've heard. Talking about like nuking Japan, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I'm sad to say, Monsieur Blaze, I'm so sorry, but I am not following it closely enough to. All right, that's not working tonight. I'm not following it closely enough to be able to say anything of value about it. Apologies. All right, where are we? What's next? All right, come on now. What? All right, that got me back. I had missed Kat's tweet, and that's what pulled me back. Okay, why does this? Okay, that's the problem. Is that I'm looking at it over here. Let me look at it over here on the. Where the hell is it? Look at it over here. Nope, it's harder to see. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm going to get serious here, people. I'm sorry I'm moving so slowly. I'm just going to call out whatever I see instead of trying. And if it's not going to be in order, I'm sorry, but I can't make it in order all the time. John Son, help me. Question, help me. John Son says, woman want. Women, I think John Son means to say, women want the kind of intelligence that translates into money, and most of them do not care about your morals. I don't know. I think you could safely say most of them don't care about your morals, as long as you don't shove the immoral shit in their face and they see the cash. I don't say most. I'd say many don't. I don't know. That could be 50-50. I mean, you can say they don't care about your morals, but I mean, look around you. There's a considerable number of them that have been turned into just howling, yapping hyenas as kinds of moral police. So it depends on whether or not something presses their button, or if someone has wound them up and pointed them in a particular direction. I wouldn't say they don't care about your morals. It's just they're highly amoral in determining what morals to care about. Yeah. So there is that. Kit Spickens says, Semigod, grow the beard to match the hat. Nope. I just didn't feel like shaving today. I can't be bothered. Fuck that shit. I'll do it another time. Philosophicat saying, not all women. Philosophicat called me black recently, so I want to fuck with her. She's like, oh, so you tan in the sun, so you too are black. Yep. Purity Spiral, straight from Philosophicat. Okay. Baby Squirrels was talking about the OTO being just like Masons, but a LARP just like Masons, but for homos. I have noticed a large number of homosexuals involved with the OTO. That is true. I'm looking for questions here, people. Oh, here's one from well, that's from Linda Hunter. I'd read it, except it isn't a question. Cam and Miles again. Oh, no, that's that. Oh, he's explaining. Let's see if we can figure this out. He or she. He. Semiagog, importance of inner state frame versus outer game tactics as it relates to women and relationships, and how that ties into your broader point of being deliberate and serious in life. Well, I mean, everything that I just said should clearly map to the idea of tactics, because I was talking about things like, if you're going to ambush somebody, you don't want some dipshit who goes running out, and attacks before everybody's in the proper position, or the people have moved into the defile where you will, open up the 88s. In terms of women, I mean, all fair in love and war, right? The parallel between tactics with women and tactics in life should be apparent. So I guess what your focus is on, the importance of interstate versus outer game. Okay, so you're talking about the mental frame that you bring to the tactics in order to realize them. I don't know. Some of it is contemplation, to look at it without hope or fear. Hope that it will be a thing, fear that it won't be a thing, or hope that it won't be a thing, fear that it will be a thing. To look at it with that cold, crystalline, sociopathic, objective eye. And then open up the stage of the mind in such a fashion that you let the characters walk around on it and see in your mind's eye what they must do. Whether it's a woman you're pursuing, in which case you will seldom be able to figure it out perfectly. Although you can often get the general outlines. They'll just, even when you got it figured out, they're going to do some curveball shit very often. And it will work likewise for tactics, outer game, as it were, unless you're using some kind of pickup artist terminology I don't know or something. So that is my best attempt to answer the question for you. Okay, this is another one from King Salmonfish. Zed Dead posted it again. I did some videos on my channel. Parasite stress is the link between disease and tyranny, fear, disgust, offense, purity, order, conformity, othering. Well, that sounds excellent. I recommend everybody go over to King Salmonfish's channel and check it out. Okay. Mongolian Doggerland is trying to get Philosophical Cat's email. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, Zed says, I'm posting the question you missed. Thank you, Zed, very much. And hello, and thank you for moderating very kindly, as always. All right. Is that it? Are we done for questions? What did I miss? Let me see here. Is that one from Mongolia? Oh, Mongolian Doggerland says, Semiagog, does it matter who I am? Will having rational. Oh my God, he just fucking dick. It doesn't matter who you are. Having a rational, biological understanding of the human condition completely transforms my life into the most wonderful. I can't do an Australian accent. You're a buck. I should block you, cocksucker. All right. Coca-Cola says, Semiagog, what do you call that type of hat? Well, this type of hat, friend, is called an astragan. I mean, or you can call it like a kalpak or something, but those terms just generally are variations on hat. This is unborn lamb's wool. So they take the little lamb out before it's born. They cut it out of the mother, or when it has just been born, and they take the wool, and it's very, very soft, and it has this variegated surface. Old ladies from Eastern Europe, would wear coats made of it in New York or whatever. This one's from Turkey, from the Grand Bazaar. It's antique, probably 1920s. You can see the kilim weaving inside it that forms the headband, and how it's all hand stitched, handmade. It's from
Back in the day. Yeah. Jawohl. Back in the day. Astragan.
Astragan. Da. Okay. So we're Ollie's my black friend, therefore I'm not racist.
You show enough so funny, philosophical cat.
Nobody knows the trouble I know. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. What's next? Do we have any other questions? Do we have any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Are there any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Zed is kindly posting again. Thank you, Zed. Reposting stuff I missed. John Sun, Semigog, what is your religious background or preference? The change has to come from the inside to save us from this hole we are in now. Maybe religion can fix this. Yeah, I don't think religion does well when it's imposed from the outside beyond a certain age. So some are probably just, you're gonna have to fucking write them off. I am of heterodox belief, and I tend to pantheism. I do believe that there are universal truths that appear in all religions, but people can get carried away and ridiculous. They can become fake versions of themselves, refusing to face their own culture and origins in trying to adopt someone else's. And I almost fell for that, having lived abroad for a long time, looked at Sufism and other things. So I know whereof I speak. Thankfully, I didn't end up living in Turkey like Peter Murphy, making songs about Islam. So yeah, I think if you get them young enough, like the Jesuits say, give me the first 6 years of a child's life, or 7 or whatever the fuck it is. I think religion is important. I don't know how it's going to come back. I think it can. I just don't know how, other than inculcating it by raising children. That's the old thing I've mentioned many times. It's Tim's old saw about Moses going off into the desert for 40 years, just long enough to raise 2 complete generations independent of everybody else's thinking and bring them back strong in the faith. That kind of thing can happen. As for my own self, I'm probably closest to Catholicism in terms of like what seems right in my heritage. I have, my mother and father were both raised Catholic. They come from New Orleans, which is a Catholic city. The vestiges of pagan culture that survive in Catholicism, the cults of saints, the cathedrals, all the rest of it. Like, seeing a proper European cathedral will always work for me, whereas, some clapboard Baptist church never did anything for me. So the Protestant stuff always was kind of not my vibe. But as an American, there are certain aspects of Protestantism that I think are just in me because of the cultural, water within which I swim. So, but I am not a Christian. Although that is probably, out of all the religions out there, the religions of the book, that is the one that, feels like mine, Christianity, specifically Catholicism. But it's not mine in an immediate sense. It's mine in I remember that sense. So yeah, there you go. What else do we have here? From Mark McGinnis, do I have an opinion on National Socialism? Yeah, it doesn't interest me. I did a clip on socialism sucks. I realize that this is going to disappoint a lot of people. Socialism to me is just the idea that I will not be able to choose whom I will help and whom I will not. It just is completely against the grain. It's like getting rid of natural selection. I just to have it be mandated by this. I just don't. It's just maybe it's because I'm a Gen Xer. I've just had it hammered into me that I don't know. I just nothing about it appeals to me. Not to mention scratchy, itchy wool uniforms, and I just ugh. There are aspects of libertarianism that I once would have told you resonate with me, but now I see what people who call themselves libertarians do and say, and it's gross. Once upon a time, I would have told you that I like, anarchism, but none of this recent stuff about talking about ANCAP this and minarchist that. It was the old days where it was like, hell no, leave me alone, mind my own business and expect the same. I'm talking about that level of anarchism, right? I mean, I read about Machno and I read a little Kropotkin and Bakunin and what's his name, the big American anarchist. I want to say Benjamin, but no, Benjamin Tucker, maybe, I can't remember. Some people say that Max Stirner is actually anarcho-individualism, but the more you look at Stirner, you realize that's not exactly what it is. But now I see what anarchists do and how they behave, and so-called anarchists, and I'm like, get the fuck away from me. So all of it disgusts me. So I guess in that respect, I can't say that National Socialism disgusts me much more than any of the others. I'm not a socialist. So, I suspect many of the people that I get on fairly well with are, not many, but some number, 3, 4. So I'm not, going to hiss at you or cry or anything, but it's just not my thing. What is next? Oh God, that fucking Mongolian Doggerland comment just fucking caught me again. What an asshole. All right, what else do we have here? That's some good quote. Oh, what's this from Charlemagne? Oh, Charlemagne says, ever seen Andrei Rublev? Just finished watching it. No, I have not. And I have thought about it. And every time, I mean, isn't that the same guy who did Stalker? I can't remember anything. I can't remember. All my cool kid lore is no longer at my fingertips. I just never Tarkovsky, right? I mean, I'm going to keep an open mind because I just recently watched a series of the damn Polish films, starting I think in the late '60s and going up through the '70s. I want to say Popov or whatever, but it's the 3 books that got done into the 3 movies, and they are just badass. It was excellent. So I don't know. What'd you think of it, Charlemagne? Tell me. Should I bother? Like, it's got to have a sword fight, man. Gotta have proper sword fights. If it's just some shit like, the monk and his feeling of religion, I don't care how well it's done. It's just gonna bore the shit out of me. I'm bad that way. Like, I want to be all high culture and everything, but for movies, I want to see some heroic overcoming. So yeah, tell me what you think, what you thought, since it's fresh on your mind. Okay. All right, somebody's asking me about those Polish movies. I'm going to pull it up. Watch this happen. Here we go. I have to find it. For people who follow me over on Twitter, all you have to do is type my little @Semiagog thing or whatever, and then type movies that don't suck, and you'll pull up my thread. And here I will tell you what these films are. Ooh, Lee Marvin. Ooh, Buffalo 66 with Vincent Gala. Ooh, Limey by Soderbergh. Yes. Underground by Emil Kusturica. Nema Vishe Sunsa. And 7 Men from Now with Randolph Scott. Sorry, I should be going for the one you're asking about. The Polish film Potop. It's called Potop, or The Deluge, and it's 1974. And then there's another one in this series. There are actually 3, but I only put 2 of them on the list. As I said, it's not as good as Potop, but it's close. And it's called With Fire and Sword. That's 1999. There's a third one. Did I not put the third one up on here? No. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so maybe I'll check out Andrei Rublev. We'll see. All right. Now, Promethean Healing says, Semiagog, do you know how we could make language eloquent and elegant again? I personally think it will gradually happen after we recapture our destiny as it is innate within us. I don't know, man. I mean, certainly the highs could be higher, but I think the lows are gonna just be low. It's, I mean, you can see that there's always been a vulgar tongue and there's always been like a high tongue. It's only recently that the difference between the two has gotten so muddied, right? So, you know, like the Greeks tried to bring it back with the idea of, I think they call it katerevos or however the hell you say it, right? And then there's sort of the Demotic Greek, the Greek of the masses. And the attempt to artificially, I think it was, reintroduce sort of a high tongue didn't do very well. So everywhere you see sort of the standardization, normalization of the Demotic, so to speak. Once upon a time, there was sort of a high speech and a lower one. These days, it's sort of like you've got middle class and then you've got working class or prole. And the only thing that really distinguishes the one from the other is vocabulary and, you know, attention to grammar, syntax, and the rest. So, I mean, I think people's vocabulary could be made better again, and people could have exposure in the course of being brought up to forms and models that are superior to those that we enjoy now. But I don't know, man. I think it just, I don't know. I'm black pilled this week. Check back with me next week, and I might be just as, you know, I'll just be ready to turn this frown upside down. So what do we have next? Und what is next, then? Clartarts said, please see my 2 questions. I'm looking. Where's another Clartarts? Clartarts. I'm gonna look, man. See, because I'm like that. Oh, Charlemagne says that Andrei Rublev is really good, inspiring, no sword fights, lots of violence. It's about the monk and his feeling of religion. Yeah, you know what it felt like to me? It felt like it would be much like Narcissus and Goldmund by Hess, right? Like you know, you read about him getting all worked up about God and carving shit out of wood. Yeah, I'll try to take a look at it. I just, if there's not a sword fight, oh my God, this dick is asking me about my dick. Are you aware of how rabbis circumcise? And if so, what do you think about it? As I understand it, they take a razor type something to the organ and then like suck blood out of it. And yeah, and some sort of religious ritual. I don't think about it. Apparently you do. Tell us all what you think about it. All right. What is next? Zed Des, just in case I missed that one, was sharing it with me. Thank you, Zed. All right. Where is the next one? That's 99 Iron Duke says it's all Greek to me. I guess that just had to be, it's coming at me. I guess I deserve it. Philosophicat says, Semigog, if you could be fluent in one dead language, which would you pick? Well, madam, Latin is not dead, but deathless. It would be Latin for sure. I mean, I'm trying to think. Greek. Nah, see, Latin just, there's just tons and tons of shit that I'd love to read in Latin. And there's a lot in Greek, but not like the Latin. The Latin really. Well, now, what have I missed? Baby Squirrel says, Semiagog, have you seen The Red Pomegranate? It's a movie? No, isn't there a... I think there was some Armenian film about pomegranates. What was that? Armenian film. Color of Pomegranates. Yeah, about Sayat Nova. I've seen that one. Is that the one you're talking about? The Color of Pomegranates. It's actually not bad. It's actually quite good. It's got crazy sets. It's very oddly dramatic, theatrical. It's weird, but I dug it. That is by it's about the Armenian poet and troubadour Sayat Nova, and it's directed by Sergei Parayanov or Parayanov. Great film, but I don't know if it's the same one you're talking about. Sorry, I've got to be over here. Oh, yep, Inconvenient One, help me. That other film in that trio is called Mr. Volodyovsky. It's not Mr., it's Major, isn't it? Like Major or Colonel Volodyovsky. It's great. Those three movies are excellent. Really, really good. With Fire and Sword. Somebody's talking about With Fire and Sword. What is that? There's also one that apparently just came out that's Polish, and it's called like Zabla or something. It's just about the saber, or like By the Saber or some shit, and I can't find a pirate version of it. With Fire and Sword. What is that one? Have I seen this one? Oh, that's duh. I'm an idiot. That's one of the novels that formed the basis of those three movies. Yeah, so I think the author is, what's his name? Henrik Sienkiewicz. Henrik Sienkiewicz. Yes, that's the author of those that trio or whatever trilogy. Okay. All right. Further questions? Oh, no. Inconvenient One says in Polish it is Mr., and I would expect he would know. I certainly don't. Okay. Travis Blaze says, Semiagog, what do you think of Cuomo resigning? What do you think they gave him or threatened him with to resign? I don't know, but that is a powerful family, and that is certainly one that has tendrils of power going back, generationally to Mario Cuomo. I think, as I said in the recent Unpopular Opinions, that it is, the obvious question is, which more powerful Democrat did he piss off? Obviously, someone further up the food chain said, no, you're going to go, because it's not like public pressure led to his downfall. It's no way. I think it may just be an aspect of letting off steam, like they're looking at the situation in New York and saying, look, this guy's got to go. We're going to come in with another approach to this. I don't know. I think it's almost, it seemed to me to be an obvious conclusion that he pissed off some Democrat more powerful than him, because we know that, simply doing what he did is insufficient to have somebody, pulled from office unless the powers that be want them gone. So maybe they just did a bunch of crooked shit and now they're ready to cover their tracks and to let him hold it. I don't know. All right. Zed Guy S says, Semigog, do you have an Ushanka? What's in your cool hat collection? Let's see what an Ushanka is. That sounds familiar. Did I forget it? Is that the really furry one? Yeah, that's the really furry one. No, I don't. I did. I had sort of a Canadian one that's close to that, not quite the proper Russian style. But and I did have an Ushanka, but then when I got this one, I was like, what do I need an Ushanka for? What for? This, the Ostragon, is the peak. Here, let me show you what I'm gonna get though. Men's Astrakhan, Russia. I found, there it is. Is this it? Yes, I think this is it. Here, let me share my screen. Let me just hang on. Here we go. I think I'm eventually going to do it with these guys. All right. Do I have it over here? All right, share my window. Just a second. Just a second, ladies and gentlemen. Remove. Let me just remove. No, remove. Let me do it this way. Stop that screen. There we go. Let me get it. Share screen. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. Let's see if this works. Oh, how fancy. There we go. This is some company called Russian Legacy. Look at all these different Ostragon hats. Like, I want every one of them. Here, let me close your question, sir, so that everybody can see the screen better. There we are. And here we go. Which one do I want? Oh my God, there's so many. All right, this one's pretty cool. Well, no, that one's worn sideways, right? This one's too flat. See that Kuban thing where it's just a flat? I don't know. Let me find the one I want. Karakul Kubanka? What's this one like? Let's see. No, see, it's like a lump. It shouldn't look like a fucking lump. That's it, right? That. See, I want the same one I have. See, it's worn by, it's how do I do? It's worn by Baron Wrangel. He is an incredible general. I basically want this in all the colors. I want a new black one so I don't have to wear my antique one. And look at this, like the sort of chestnut brown, man. How cool is that? I want one of those. I want one of all of them. And look sort of golden. I mean, look at that. Look at that. Who would not want that hat? So they're basically, I think I'm going to get all four in all different colors. Problem is, you can see they're kind of pricey there. That's, 190. Let's see. Plus 9. Ooh, spotted. It's going to be $20, $209. That must be this one. $209. I think I might just have to keep my existing black one and white. See, the problem is I already have gray hair. So the white hat actually might work really well, or it might be a little weird. It'll look like hair on my head. I'll look like I've got some Roman woman's hairdo. So yeah, I think the brown, that's the safest. If I could have only one, that, ladies and gentlemen, that is what I would have. All right. So let's go back over here. Let's return, shall we? We got 3 minutes left. Let me see if I got like one question left. Nope, we got one from Yiz. What's Yiz got to say? Hello, Yiz, by the way, and thank you for being here. Yiz says, Semigog, I think they're removing Cuomo to establish the precedent. Even a popular, powerful Democrat can be removed for bad touch. Because that's how they plan to remove Biden. That's plausible. I think that's plausible. That's, yeah. I don't know one way or another, and I've made predictions that did not come true, as many will know. So, yeah, I think that's as convincing. I think it's that and other things like piss somebody off also. It's the kind of thing like we need a sacrifice to show that we're not just doing it with Biden. They could have chosen anybody, right? The fact that they chose to do it with Cuomo means that, yeah, it could be what you're talking about here. And nevertheless, he pissed off someone, some Democrat with more power than he has. And, and the environment of New York, I can't imagine that would be hard to do, as competitive and, ruthless, as rapacious as they are. Up in New York City, they're very rapacious. Okay. Bilbo Balboa says, he compliments me and says he'll be watching the content, he or she. Thank you. Excellent. I appreciate that. Oh, this one's late, but I will come in and answer it now, and then I will be out. He says, how's Tim doing? I hope he is back soon. He's been up and down, and it seems that he's been down this week, but I spoke to him today. He still talks about coming back. and I hope he will soon. But it's kind of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back for him, as I said earlier, after a series of like 20 that knocked him back. So he insists he's on his way back, but it's still going to be a little while yet. But I hope, of course, that it is much sooner than later. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here this evening. It has been a wonder to speak with you all, and I've been working this funky microphone. I keep moving my mouth too damn far away. Thanks for bearing with me. Thank you for joining me for this Ask Me Anything stream. And for those of you who came in late, I'm not just nattering on the entire time. There's sort of an opening thing where I cover 3 or 4 ideas at the beginning. So thanks very much for being here. I will be back again soon. And until next time, I am Semigog, and I am out.